From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Bonus episode, Matt.
What's up?
We have a bonus episode today.
Hey.
I like it.
Yes.
And I'm Mike, and I'm here today with Jill
Hey.
and Matt.
I'm here.
And we have a special guest, and it is April.
Hello.
Hey, April.
Hey, April.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
And April is a friend of Jill's and
Yes,
a friend
indeed.
of Bill's and a friend of all of ours now. And she came by the studio today to tell her story. And we're looking forward to hearing it. We kind of, beforehand, we kind of covered, what a little bit of a format situation, but there's nothing formal about it. You can just start wherever you want to start. And I guess before we do start, what's your sobriety date?
My sobriety date is 12/28/18.
Oh,
Okay, nice. What's your home group?
Yas.
Okay, nice.
I hear a lot about these yayas.
It's good stuff.
Do they meet like every day?
No, it's just once a week.
All women.
Yeah, me and Mike don't get together. So I was going
Get to tell our
throw that
deepest,
in there.
darkest secrets.
And where did the name Yaya come from?
I have no idea.
Oh man, and I should know.
There's a movie
I feel like
at
I
one
should
time,
know.
I feel
Yeah.
like I should know.
The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. If y'all know.
Yeah, it's a sisterhood for sure.
Yeah. But I was often wondered, I hear that. I've heard it, I guess, since we've been doing the podcast a lot more than I heard before the podcast. But I've heard of the Yayas. They've been around a while.
They have, and I haven't. I'm guilty. I haven't been able to catch a meeting there in quite a time. So I was trying to find a different one, but I just really love the women in the program.
Yeah, it's a solid group of women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine, as much as we hear about it, and some of our guests that have come on and talked about it, was Nancy from last week, was she part of the Yayas?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Dang.
And I got a lot of feedback off that episode. I will honestly say the last episode we had, I got a lot of feedback.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So one thing that I really like about recovery, no matter what format you use, what group you use, whether it's NA, AA, whatever it is, every single person has a different story. Everybody has what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. And in the same instance, every person basically has the same story whenever you look at it from a bird's eye view. And that's what we got April here today to tell us her story. And we got Matt and Jill's going to prod her along a little bit in case she gets lost. That's all. We don't.
Which I do a lot.
I don't mean that's,
Segway.
that's part of it. And when in doubt, just wonder why there's all these saddles in the studio.
Yeah. Jill has got us hooked up.
We actually wear those after every episode, but the top one's a little small for me. So, but April, take it away. It's yours.
All right. Well, I'm April, and I'm an alcoholic. I think our stories are all kind of generic in the beginning. I was raised on a house with a lot of, I guess, untreated mental illness, and so that's just kind of how I was raised. I was a military brat as well, so we kind of moved around a lot. My mom got married a lot. I believe she had 7 husbands. So it was a lot. And so, growing up though, we weren't like a little under middle class. And so we didn't go without. There wasn't anything too traumatic, I guess, that would have happened. I do know that when I hit middle school, it was about the time when I started to feel different. I was like, I'm not like everybody else in some way, shape, or form. And I remember having bad body dysmorphia. And I grew up in the age of, bell bottoms and the low rise jeans. Nobody looked good in those unless you were like 96 pounds.
Yeah, right.
And I was going through puberty and I was just awkward. I had acne. I didn't have braces yet. I got picked on a lot. And it was just I just hated everything about it. And I remember I would just sit there and just like wish that like I would just not wake up in the morning. And so high school hit, and I kind of just was very to myself, very reserved. And then, you know, I would try to branch out. I was kind of one of those people that just hung out with everybody. I didn't have a clique. And I hung out with everybody, but I really didn't go into like the partying phase. I was the one that was like, you shouldn't do drugs, and blah, 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 surprisingly. And then, like, I guess around 18, for some reason, it was my goal to get a job at Hooters. And I was like, I am going to get a job at Hooters. And I did. And so I was a senior working at Hooters. And then I kind of got into the drinking. Like we would, every now and then, it wasn't like an everyday kind of thing. And they called me hoverboard because I would always throw up on like so my thing in high school was tequila, and I would get like a big bottle of Patron, and I would just sit there all night with like my Patron and my limes and just take shot after shot. And yeah, it was a mess. And so none of my drinking experiences started out great. I would always end up blacked out drunk and embarrassing myself some way. And then I graduated, and I decided not to go to college because I was working at Hooters, and I had gotten a job at Horseshoe working at CMT Crossroads. And I was like, my looks are going to make me. This is where we're going. And I moved out of my mom's house, moved in with one of my best friends, and we had a stripper pole in our basement, and worked, probably making a lot of money for two 19, 20-year-olds than we knew what to do with. And so we were just having a good time. I was briefly engaged around that time, didn't last. And so, yeah, I was just living life. And then I was introduced to marijuana, and I got real kind of like stoner hippie, started playing music. And
Like a musical instrument?
yeah, I play guitar, and so I still play it today. I'm not really good at it, but
Same here.
I play it.
Well, I probably think that's crap because you're performing all over town.
Well, that's like more of a, so I like to,
It's the guitar, right?
it's like one of those outlets that, you know, you can kind of make money doing it.
Yeah.
And so when I complain that like I'm broke or something, my sponsor's like, you have all these talents, you shouldn't be broke. And so I'm like, shit.
Yeah, and you sing.
But I'm not good at it. I preference that. I do play music every now and then. I like to write music more than I like to play it.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I'll say that. But
Pretty cool.
when I started playing music and playing around downtown, I really, I don't know, I just turned 21, and I was like, I was always in the field of taking care of people. I'd always take care of like my brother and my friends, and they'd always be super drunk. And so like when I turned 21, I was just kind of like, I'm done taking care of people. I want to have fun. And so there was like a brief moment of, you know, the drummer would come up to me and be like, hey, do you want to try this? 99% of the time, I don't know what I was trying, but I was like, yes. And so I got introduced to like some drugs, and cocaine was by far my favorite. And I went on a cocaine binge, and I loved it because I was able to drink more on it. And so there's,
I've heard that before.
you know, I mean,
yeah.
it was just I enjoyed it. I was able to keep up with everybody. I wasn't the one that was getting drunk or passing out, forgetting what I was doing. It was like I was able to drink as much as the boys and still know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it just keeps straight.
Yeah. And then I really liked that it cut the appetite down. And so I looked what I thought looked really good. And I was like, oh yeah. And so so that didn't last though, because I feel like I'm a true alcoholic, just because alcohol was always my go-to, but I did dabble in party favors, and I was a very lazy person when it came to looking for said party favors. And so once I couldn't find it, I kind of just went on to the next thing. And after cocaine was Xanax, I got on like a Xanax kick, and I would have this problem of Xanax never worked fast enough for me. And so I would take one and I would sit there and I'm like, oh, this isn't doing anything. And then like I would take another one and I'm like, this isn't doing anything. And then, the next morning I'm waking up at the psych ward in the hospital because I don't know what happened. And I fought my brother outside of one of these bars downtown, and I came to in an ambulance because I had passed out. They thought like I died or something in this bar, and I came to and I was in the ambulance. My brother was there, and we get into like this full-on fist fight. And I woke up at one of the hospitals in the psych ward, and I was like, what's going on? And they're like, well, you tried to kill yourself last night. You tried to jump out the window. And I was like, what? And the hospital was like right across from where we lived at the time. I was back with my mom. And so I walked home, and my dad, who lives in Illinois, was there. And I was like, okay, this is bad. And so I remember that year was probably the toughest for me. Once I started dabbling into different things, I started, really getting consequences of my disease. And I got 3 DWIs 1 year, and just
You got all 3 in 1 year?
all 3.
And you're still 21 age.
Yeah, I was 22, 23. Wow. And so I was just miserable. And after the 3rd time I got arrested, they keep you there for a while, surprisingly, because I was used to just going in. And
Yeah.
being
I've heard
able
that.
to,
You're lucky
Who
that
knew?
you're not still there.
100%.
Yes.
And so, I got out and I had to go to Buckhalter. I don't know if y'all remember.
I do. I
I
remember
do too.
Buckhalter. Yeah.
And that was way different than the last one I ended up at. But I remember just, doing what we do best. And that's like putting on this mask and saying everything you needed to say to get out of trouble.
Right.
And that's where I was at. I remember went to Buckhalter and just like, being very professional about everything. And and then like I stayed sober for maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I was back to smoking weed. I was trying to, get out of trouble, still have fun. And it was just a really weird balance between the two. And then I got, in 2015, I had my son. And so he kind of slowed me down momentarily. I think it was like a more, I don't know, just like this is what you have to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I had William. It did kind of calm me down for a little bit, but really like if I'm being honest with myself and like looking back on it, it's like I really wasn't. I would pump so then I can drink, and then I would feel guilty because you can't use that liquid gold because then your baby would get a little buzz. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of went back into my old routine, and me and my son's father weren't together. And so anytime he would have him, it was just kind of my excuse to go out, go party. I had a lot of situationships where, it is what it is. And so I blow and go in my car around this time because for my consequences of the first 3, I finally tried to get my license back when I found out I was pregnant. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to be able to transport this child.
So for some of our viewers, they may have no idea what a blow and go is.
Okay.
It's otherwise known as the Intoxilock.
Yeah, our listeners probably wonder too.
Some of them are like, I had that too.
I had that too. Yeah, no, it's a great little device that you hook up into your car, and you have to blow in it
I've seen them.
before you can start your car. So.
Yep. Had one.
Did you,
Yes.
Jill?
Yes, I did.
What, on the Subaru?
No, this was years ago in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
Oh, after I got my DWI.
She'd lose her sponsorship from Subaru.
I just decided, well, I just won't drive.
Yeah.
Like that helped.
That's what I did. From 2013 to 2015, I just wasn't driving because I was like, oh, well, eventually this is just going to go away. And it doesn't. For those who are wondering, it doesn't go away. They just hold it until you decide you want your license back. And you're like, okay.
Find out at the DMV.
Yeah.
Doesn't go away.
You're going to
I'll
have to
show
have
them.
this. And I had to have it for 2 years. And I was just like, oh my God. But then I got really good at cheating the system. Like I knew how much I can drink the night before in order to start the car to go into work. And my child's preschool was like right around the corner from our house. And I had a bicycle and he had one of those little
seat
carriers.
Oh,
yeah.
like you pull behind?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so on mornings when I couldn't start my car, I would load him up in that and I would take him to school. And I'm sure, I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh yeah, look at this like dedicated mother, like riding her bike in the morning to drop her kid off at school.
Were you in a bathrobe?
I'm sure I looked, thinking back on it, I'm sure they were like, where is CPS? Like this woman does not look well. But so yeah, so I did that for a little while. And, there was a moment in 2018 when I was working out and I was feeling really good about myself, and I had paid off my first house and I got a new car, and I was just just feeling really good. But then also it was kind of very superficial because I felt like there was nothing in me, like I felt empty. And I remember thinking, well, maybe I should try to go to church, and then like kind of being like repulsed by the idea, like, no, I can't do that. And so I would just keep going. And, I got down and about, by the end of 2018, I wasn't working out and I didn't really have help with my child at the time. And so, I just resorted back to the one thing I know, and that's alcohol. And so, very quickly, I had gotten my breathalyzer out in September of 2018, and very quickly my drinking habits kind of came back. I went from like drinking maybe like once on the weekend to drinking a glass of wine every night, and then that glass of wine quickly turned into a bottle every night. And then that bottle went right back to my main man, Jack Daniels. And so from September to December, that's how quick it was. And December, I spent $600 on alcohol alone. And I only know that because once I got this last DWI, my family tore through my life. They like just basically wanted to know everything. And my sister and my sister-in-law, actually, they were like, hey, I was going to Thrifty every day, and I would go to like a different Thrifty. So that Thrifty didn't see me go back to that Thrifty. And like December, they have those nice little gift sets. So I would buy like gift sets of Jack Daniels because I'm like, oh, this is a gift for somebody.
For
And
me,
Really, it's
I
not
deserve a
like
present.
I'll
gift
pat
that
on the
keeps
back.
on
yeah, like I'm buying things for people and like just taking out the bottle and then
Give them the little glasses.
The shot glasses.
I remember I would like my son's father would come over and I would just have bought this bottle of Jack Daniels, and so like he didn't know that there was only like a drink left, like maybe this much from that bottle. I would like top it off with like water and then like try to put some like coloring in it, like Coke or something, to make it look like it was whiskey. So made it look like I still had that bottle of Jack when really I drank it the night before. And the Christmas of 2018, I remember that I was just so hungover that I did not remember what my child opened that morning. I remember like being asleep on the couch, coming to, and like, you know, he would be really excited about something and we'd be like, oh, that's awesome. And then kind of like lay back down. And then December 2018, I was going into work and I had like a really bad drinking binge the night before. And me and my best friend at the time, well, she's still my best friend, but then she was trying to get me back into life. And I think what's great about the program, and now that I am sober and I'm able to like look back on like my experience, there was times leading up to that moment in December that I can clearly see it now as like God, like being like, hey, like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. All the flags.
Yeah, like all those flags.
Yeah.
And you're just ignoring it. You're ignoring it. And so I was on my way into work and the road was wet and this lady just stopped in front of me and I stopped and I skid right into her. And I'm like, okay, it's just a little fender bender. This is going to be fine. And no, I'm in handcuffs. I'm in handcuffs for another DWI. And I remember in that moment just thinking, oh my God, my life is over. It is over. And I kicked and screamed the entire time. I wish I could have that video just so I can see like what it was like.
Was there a resisting arrest?
Oh yeah, there was getting out of my handcuffs.
You got out of your
I got out of my handcuffs. And I remember I was in the back and he's just sitting there and I'm just like, I am like fuming and I'm pleading with him. Like, I have a job, I have a house, I have a kid. People like me don't go to jail. Like,
Yeah, I remember doing that
who
once.
the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Like, you just hit somebody because you're intoxicated, but no, you're too good to go to jail.
Right?
And I was like, nobody's gonna take care of my kid. And he's just like sitting there like, I'm sure he, like, this is like I have tried to find that officer to apologize to him, to make an amends to him, and I've not been able to yet. But I've always, that's always been like on my amends list was that officer. But yeah, I got out of my handcuffs, and my idea was like, I'm gonna get out of the handcuffs. He's gonna get out, and then when he like opens my door, I'm either gonna make a run for it, or I'm gonna get him to shoot me. Like, I was,
Jesus.
No, I get it. I get it.
I'm serious.
Yeah, you're ready.
I
huh?
was there. Like, I knew, because my attorney told me, like, if you get another one, like, you are screwed. And I was like, oh my God, like, my life is over. I'm never going to see my kid again. And so I really just wanted to die in that moment. And, of course, you know, trying to get the officer to shoot me led me into another psych ward at CCC. And so that was real fun. I got to wear a turtle suit for 2 weeks. And I remember being still completely delusional from what just happened and, you know, pleading that it was all just a big mistake. And I wasn't drunk and blah, blah, blah. And I would do yoga in my jail cell, completely nude, doing yoga, and I'm trying to convince the guards that sane people
Do that?
this is like,
Yeah.
I'm good, you know? Like, I am a sane person.
Sorry, Angel. I mean, I'm
you're-
sure there's lots of people like, yes, I do yoga in the nude too when I go to prison.
Just not in prison.
Dudes don't do that in the guy jail. There's no nudity
I don't do
in
yoga.
What?
Oh, okay. Well,
Well, it didn't fool anybody, if y'all were wondering. It didn't.
okay.
didn't fool anybody. But I think I was probably about, you know, I was probably 3 weeks in jail before I had actually admitted that I was an alcoholic. like for the first time in my life, I admitted that I was an alcoholic and I need help. And I think, you know, the idea of like me going to jail, me doing jail time was inevitable. And they're like, this is what you're like, you were messed up. Like you messed up. You're going to jail for a long time. And so, you know, kind of going to a treatment center and doing all those things was basically just so I probably didn't, you know, try to off myself in jail. Mm-hmm. And to be able to, you know, handle my consequences. And so that's kind of where my story began in recovery is I got to meet you, and you were the first part of my story. And so that, you know, it was the first time I did the treatment center before, but I wasn't ready. I would go to AA meetings and I would be looking at somebody and just going like, this dude, like you're telling me the 6-year-old man can't drink one beer and then like his life is going to be ruined. Like, okay, like this is complete BS.
I was there. We probably all were at one point. This is stupid.
I remember my first thought was, this guy's been sober since 1979. He's just coming here for attention.
Yeah. Like, how lame. Yeah.
I met Phil and he had 79, you know, and I remember thinking, good Lord, how big of a drinking problem does he have? You know,
he must have really pissed his wife off.
He's the Chris Farley of alcohol, you know, my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there, man. Yeah.
But no, I guess it was just the desperation of this time. And so, you know, it was the first time I was able to take suggestions. I remember sitting in CADA and like people would come in from like Oxford and stuff like that. And they would kind of just like tell their experience, strength, and hope. And I remember there was a gal that came in and she was talking to me about going to Oxford, and I had a house. I was ready to get back to my kid. Like I was still in the delusion of alcoholism because like I thought like once I got out of jail, once I did treatment, I was going to be able to have my job back. I was going to be able to have my kid back. I was going to have my house back. And my family was like, no, like you're not getting your kid back. Like whatever you need to do, this is your time to do it. And I remember like the Christmas before all this, Christmas of 2018, and they were like, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, I wanted a break. And I remember being in jail and going, this wasn't what I fucking asked for. Like, this wasn't the vacation that I was expecting.
Yeah, your higher power was like, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, and that was another thing. It was just like God all the way. Yep. And he was like, all right, I'm gonna sit you down.
Yep.
Sit you down. And so I remember I was talking to her and I was like, I just don't really, you know, think Oxford's for me. Like I have a house. And she was like, well, she's like, is anybody taking care of the house? And I was like, well, yeah, my dad, you know, picked up his life to move down here, take care of my house and my kid. And she was like, well, you know, why not? And I was just like, okay. And so, you know, I jumped into it. And I think this time, you know, every step for me was scary. I remember being scared going into rehab. I was scared going into Oxford. I was scared leaving Oxford to go back home. And I think those were just like good fears. And I did end up going back to my home with my kid. I did Oxford for, you know, 8 months. And got a sponsor straight out of treatment, thanks to this beautiful lady next to me. And I've been with that sponsor ever since. And she was absolutely perfect. And she still is to this day. And she just was one of those people that I can be completely honest with. And it was just that burden of all that shame, the bondage of self, I guess. It's just like all that shame coming out. And being able to like tell somebody else, it was just like this huge weight was lifted off of me. And so able to go home, and then, you know, the consequences from this last one, I'm still on probation. I'm still having to do all these things that the court's asking me to do. I had a ankle monitor. It was beautiful. And, you know, I just did everything that I was supposed to do. You know, 2020 hit, and I just remember like seeing all the TikToks of everybody, because we're all stranded in our house, and just thinking, I'm so glad I'm sober, because I would be spending so much money on booze. Like, you're getting government money. Like, oh my God. Like, it would have just.
Now, I would imagine a lot of folks did.
Well, not only that, you're having to isolate. Like, I bet a
Yeah.
lot of people got weird.
I never got to isolate. I never got the luxury of doing that.
I had a garden. I made bread. Like, I was like, this is life. Like, I hope we never go back. We're always in a pandemic, because I want to.
An introvert's dream.
Yes. I'm like, yes. You have to go on meetings and you're in the comfort of your home. I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is for me. Like, I had arrived when 2020 hit, because it was amazing. But yeah, like, life today is, you know, it's life. When, you know, I got sober, and, you know, so I didn't have to go back to jail, which is kind of like the miracle of my story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to ask that, actually.
Yeah, I honestly thought, like, I should be in jail right now, like right now. I remember thinking, you know, like the maximum penalty was 15 years. My child was 3 when all this happened, and so I was like, well, he's going to be 18 by the time I get to see him, and then, you know, my attorney being like, well, you know, maybe we can, you know, get it down to like 2 years. And I'm still thinking, like, that's such a long time. Like, that is such a long time. But gratefully, because, you know, I'd met wonderful women in the program from start to finish, and I still had them in my life. It was just kind of like, it prepared me for it. And I remember hearing someone else's story, and her sharing that, you know, she had to go to jail being sober, and remembering, like, this is possible. Like, I can do this, you know, and by the grace of God, I didn't have to. And so it's just, it's a miracle in itself, and I don't take it for granted. And but yeah, no, life continues to happen. I lost my mom this year, and so that was kind of hard. And I was supposed to move to Nashville, and I have a wonderful job. I got promoted, got a raise, and all these wonderful things were happening. And I just remember, like, thinking, you know, I am not in an emotional state right now to pick up my life and move. I needed the people who I had grown to know and love and had around me for the first 4 years. I needed those people during that time of grief. And so I stayed. I'm grateful I did it. And, you know, it's just part of the journey. And I think every time, every year that goes by, I'm like, okay, if I can stay sober through that, nothing's going to get me to drink, you know, and then something else will happen that's like 10 times what it was last year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, if I could stay sober to that. And, you know, I would be a liar if I told you that this year hadn't been rough, to where the thought of maybe taking a drink wouldn't have been the worst thing. But I'm still in that, I'm still where I was when I first got in, and it's kind of fearful. Like, the thought for me to relapse is fearful.
Yeah.
I feel like being able to look back on it and seeing, like, my journey and how I ended up here, it's like I feel like a cat that's pretty much cashed out all her 9 lives. And so the next time, you know, it's kind of just, I feel like it's life or death for me. I know that's probably a little dramatic, but it's kind of like how I have to think of it.
I totally feel that way.
It's 100% fact.
I like it can't get any worse.
Yeah, I'm like, so, and everything's going great. And so that's really the gist of my story. I you know, I'm not gonna hone in on any like trauma or anything, but that's just the generic version of it. So
Yes.
I really appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. We appreciate you.
Do you get to work with any other ladies now?
I do. So I have a couple of sponsees, and I kind of, you know, my sponsor's very hard, and so I kind of like in turn give that to my sponsees, and not a lot of. I haven't been able to keep a lot around, but
Me and you both.
and you know, I've been sober for a while, and I could say that I have 100% success rate because I'm still sober.
yeah.
I don't know what happened to the rest of them.
I was like, that's impossible.
I'm still sober.
It's funny you say that though. Like I do with sponsees the way I was done by my sponsor, and when I ask them, hey, this is the things we do, and they don't do it. Well, that's what I did, and it worked. And so,
Yeah,
You know.
it's really just extremely simple. Like it's just, you know, just do what to keep in like the basics. And it's funny because like there are times when, you know, I'm not doing my inventory at night, or there's times when I don't pray in the morning, or I'll, you know, stuff happens and I'm busy, so I'll forget to go to one of those meetings, or I'll kind of push off my home group for a few months, and you start seeing like what it's like to kind of white knuckle it, because you're not spiritually healthy in that moment, I don't think. And I feel like when, you know, you get spiritually sober, it's when you have like that spiritual awakening through the process of working through the steps. And so when you stop doing those things, it's like you're starving that spirituality, and it's kind of like starting to dwindle down, and you don't see it. I mean, it could be masked. Like I know that there's a lot of times when I mask it as like clinical depression, when it could probably be more spiritual depression, or just something in those lines where it's just kind of like, have I done everything today? When I get mad at somebody, it's like, have I done everything today to keep me from getting to that level? And most of the time it's no. No, I didn't.
I like that spiritual. Wait, what'd you call it?
spiritual depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to a meeting, then you come out, you're like, damn, I feel great.
Yeah.
Right?
You're like,
A meeting I didn't want to go to.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Or especially when meeting with a sponsee. I do not want to do this today. I got this going on, and I got so many reasons not, but you do because you're told to. And then after it, you're just like, I feel so much better.
Yes.
I don't know if they do, but I feel so much better.
You were talking about too, you know, going to sober living. You were listening to those people when you were in treatment and all that stuff. And I work at a treatment place now, and had a guy, they're getting ready to get out, you know, and so a guy yesterday was like, and I tell them all the same thing, and they're like, what do I do? You know, I'm going, and I tell them every single day for the rest of your life, you're either going to work on your recovery or you're going to slide back. You're not going to stay neutral. Either way.
Yep.
You can put the effort in. If you don't, it's going to go backwards. It's just not going to stay where you're at. And that's the way mine's been. So,
Yeah.
you know, but
I have to remind myself every morning that I am an alcoholic,
Yeah.
and my life is unmanageable if I try to take it into my own hands.
it's almost like tug of war. You can pull on it, pull on it, pull on it. And if you stop, it's going to start sliding right back. The rope just slides. It may do it slow, may do it fast, but I can
It'll
tell.
suck you back in quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
So one of my favorite things is, I mean, like, you know, we all have like some social media things, and watching what you and your son do. And like, you do the coolest things with him, and you're always and it's just like, it makes me so happy.
How old is he?
He's 8.
Okay. Can he play guitar?
No, but he does have excellent timing. Like his rhythm is so good.
Nice.
And I was doing my makeup the other night, and I was sitting on my sink because I have to sit in my sink when I get ready.
That's what I do.
And I have to be like this in my sink, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like listening to him, and he's just like, I mean, he's spitting beats, and they're actually like they're in time, like he has rhythm, like he has better rhythm than I do, and I play a musical instrument, so it's just like I'm excited for him to get interest if he wants to, but I would love for him to play an instrument for sure.
I just what I love seeing is you present, and you like really they're fun stuff, like the fun stuff with them, and just enjoying being a mother.
Yeah. And I had to kind of fall back on that because, part of my story before, I got sober was that I was a chronic liar. Mm-hmm. Like I was able to put on this front when I had fallen back and I had gotten my fourth DWI, my family was shocked. They had like no idea what was going on. And a lot of it was because I was posting on social media how a wonderful life was. Mm-hmm. And so today I'm more mindful, like of being more present with him instead of like having to post every single thing we're doing on social media. And so just because like it's real this time. And so it's kind of one of those give and takes. Like, I like social media because I'm able to, share moments with people who have helped me on my journey or my family who I don't get to see all the time. And so it's stuff like that. But then it's also like I have to kind of like bring it in because I am an alcoholic and, really like, am I doing this for my own gratification?
Right.
Or is this something that needs to be posted, or is this something that I need to just keep with me in this moment?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good thought process.
Yeah.
I do like that because a lot of people can get carried away because of the validation they seek through that. And
dopamine hits, man. Like all those likes.
Yeah.
I took a picture of a bee. Just took a picture of a bee, posted it the last time I posted it.
I was like, what is this?
It was a really good picture.
I keep a lot of mine involves
Like 15 likes.
breaking the law, so I don't put a lot of it on social media for
Yeah.
legal reasons.
Yeah, I used to like see how fast I could go and record it. Probably not a good idea if that ever ends up in court, but yeah,
Well,
but yeah, I get it. All the likes.
yeah.
Validation with every like.
Yeah, it's fake. I mean, it's bullshit because I don't feel great every day.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a charade.
But if you post how you really feel, then you get everybody calling you, want to know what's wrong with you.
Right.
Okay.
Don't post anything.
I'll post a meme now and people are like, are you okay?
You need to meet our friend Ben.
Yeah, please don't. Everybody just not follow Ben on Instagram. That's all I'm going to say.
You might not hang around.
He likes videos. So, but I was talking to somebody the other day about that. And you do things with your kids and you do things with your friends and all that. And then, like, I don't put hardly anything on social media. But we were sitting there last night, not personal stuff, but we were sitting there last night talking about a fishing trip 5 years ago, and we sunk the boat. And we're rolling laughing. And, like, it's a legendary story about us sinking this boat and getting lost and basically calling the Bistineau Coast Guard to come get us. They don't have a Coast Guard on Lake Bistineau, by the way. But my brother suggested call the Coast Guard. I'm like, we're in Dolene, dude. Like, there's not a Coast Guard here.
Wildlife and fisheries.
Yeah, like Uber, like we're out in a swamp.
Call them the Cajun Navy.
Yeah, well, anyway, but none of that. I have one picture that I took of my kids in that whole deal, and every time I see that picture, it makes me smile because I'm like, what a disaster that was. We had so much fun. Yeah, dude,
I'm telling you, some of the worst things are some of the best memories.
Oh, this was, so we'd get lost in the boat. Okay, first we left the plug out, had to pull it back up, drain the boat, put the plug in. You think that would stop normal people? Not me and my brother. We're going to push on. Then we get lost. Don't know where we're at. We have 3 kids. One of them's like 4. 2, then my boy and my nephew, my other nephew. Short story long, it's 4th of July. We're out in the middle of this place. We have no light. It's dark. we decide, hey, there's lights over there. We float up. We're on the other side of the lake in another parish. And these people are having 4th of July. It was 4th of July, and they're having a cookout. And we just float up in the dark like Navy SEALs or something. We're like little kids. And it's 10:30 at night. We left at 2 that afternoon to go for 30 minutes. They're like, who are these people? We're like, hey, how you doing? They're like, what's going on? And our kids go, we're starving to death. They just yell at these people. And the ladies are like, oh, my God, like, we need to feed them. So they just took all our kids in their house. I have a picture of my phone. So I was married at the time.
This is so.
I was stone cold. I was a year and a half, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This was, And, so now my brother and I are facing men who are looking at us like, so you just got lost with these kids and you don't care about anything, and we're trying to make small talk like we're not idiots. And my brother kept just digging the hole deeper, and he'd go, so, I bet that happens a lot out here. People show up lost. And the lady goes, hon, how long have we lived out here? He goes, 30 years. She goes, we've never had anybody. And I just look at my brother. I'm like, please shut up, And then our wives are texting, why aren't y'all at the camp? Where are y'all? We're like, we took the kids to get something to eat. And they're sitting on
somebody else's party.
Hold on. Because we don't want to give them the whole truth, but we don't want to lie.
Yeah, they would have freaked out.
So it starts the CSI interrogation process by text message, and they're eating at a picnic table, eating hamburgers. And she's like, you're lying. Something bad's happened. We're like, no, they're eating. We're feeding your children, like get off our case. She's like, that's not true. So I take a picture of them and send it to her. She texts back, why does one of them have a life jacket on in a restaurant? I'm like, So, yeah.
Kids are.
That's about a tenth of that story, but that's as quick as I could tell.
That's awesome.
That's how we roll today. It's always wild.
That was pretty good, man.
So I have a question for you, April. What is the most profound thing that you've learned in recovery?
Oh, I guess just like really getting to know myself, honestly. Mm-hmm. I was, I feel like I was a chameleon all of my life. Like I was very good at like molding into my surroundings and, kind of just doing what I thought was normal. And so it's kind of like to get thrown into this community of people, that are just like me. It's nice to kind of finally be able to let all those guards down that I've been building up all of my life and be 100% authentic and be myself now. That's probably been the coolest thing, and it different every year, which I also think is pretty cool. How I am this year is completely different how I was last year, and so on and so forth.
And it will continue to do that.
And so it's like it's cool to kind of see that growth, and really just kind of get to the point where my family's not worried about me all the time, and that and I'm sure it's still occasionally will pop their mind, like when we lost our mom, they were worried about what I was going to do. Yeah. And so I'm sure it's going to take a long time before that fear goes away, because it's just something that I've been able to put into my family for so long. Mm-hmm. But to be able to be there for my mom when she's taking her last breath, or be there for my sister for the aftermath of it, and just to be present, that's something huge, because I was never that person. I would rather go drink on a holiday than go visit my family. And so there was a lot of moments through my addiction where I just didn't show up.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the way and just never come. And so to actually be able to be present for my family today has been like a huge gift for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like what you say about fear too, but it's not a fear the way I think most people think about it. I think it's healthy when these moments come up. We have to approach things a different way. And so a little bit of healthy fear and circumstances kind of keeps us where we're supposed to be, you know, and
keeps us motivated.
And just kind of going, okay, this is a big moment here. I need to be a little more careful about what's
Picking
happening.
up the phone and calling your sponsor.
First thing I always ask myself, is, and I mean, this is after, you know, how I've been sober, 12 years. The first thing I ask myself, though, is have I done everything today that I'm supposed to do, that I've been taught to do? And then if I haven't, I need to do that immediately. And, you know, I don't know if the fear ever completely subsides. You know, I've heard people in the rooms with 30 and 40 years say different things, you know, and that's the ones I try to listen to because they've managed to pull it off for 20 or 30, 40 years, you know. But I don't know if it ever completely subsides, if it ever completely goes away, you know.
Kind of turns into more respect.
Yeah.
It just morphs into.
And I know I don't have to be fearful of going back out if I do these things every day. Yeah. But I also know that I don't know me 100% either. And so I've got to reach out, depend on someone else, whether it's my sponsor or one of these guys or just someone else, and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I feel. And those moments are rare. They don't happen a whole lot, but I just don't know, for me anyway, if it ever will. I actually kind of hope it don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the family trust, you know, I was 10 years sober, and there was an event that happened in my family, and my one of my relatives asked, has he gone back out? Is he back drinking again? You know, I wasn't, obviously, but you know, that was a question that came up. You know, in my egomaniac mind, I'm thinking, what the hell? What is wrong with these people? I haven't drank it, but you know, it's just what I was known for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So part of those, you know, are just more motivation for me to do the things just one day at a time to stay sober. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, it's a matter of life and death. Your story is absolutely phenomenal, especially, you know, and you know, I don't wish that on anybody as far as the jail stuff goes, right? But, you know, getting to that point, you know, and I hear that where people got to that point or spent, you know, a year in jail, and then when they got out, and my son's story is very similar. He'll be 7 years in January. My story was more or less death, you know, right there, just either going to die or not going to die, you know, but no matter what, the outcome just doesn't look as good as it does today, what we're doing right now, you know, in this thing. So, thank you for coming by.
Thank y'all for having me.
I have one more question. Music. I'm a music nut. I know you guys are too.
Well, we know the nut part is right.
Well, I could go deeper into that, but we'll do that another time. But does that help you in sobriety?
You know, like I said, I like to write music.
That's very therapeutic.
Yeah. And it was something I didn't really utilize. I remember when I got sober, I just kind of put music on the back burner. Really, when I had my son, I put music on the back burner. But then when I got sober, I had it in my head that like, oh, well, I'm not getting stoned, so I'm not going to write these awesome music anymore.
I get it.
You don't have that
creativity
that you did.
Even Bill talks about that.
But then I've learned that, you know, when my mother passed away and I was in therapy, and she was like, you know, why don't you talk to your mom? And I was just like, that's so bizarre. She's cremated, and so she's actually like with me. She's in my house, and so I'm like, it's just weird. I didn't want that, and we were going to, you know, throw her ashes somewhere. And then I'm really grateful now that we didn't, because even though like I did not want that in my house at first, mainly because I was worried that like it was going to get knocked over or something like that. And it's kind of, I don't know, I'm glad we kept it. Mm-hmm. But I started writing. I wrote a song for my mom, basically, and so I kind of picked it back up a little bit. So like I'm still kind of fresh into getting into the music thing. I do find that when it's easy for me to pick up a guitar sometimes than it is to write it in a journal. And so, but then I also don't try to like push it. Like if it's not going to come out organically, then I don't really like sit there for hours. I probably don't write as much as I should. But I do think that with the experience in my mindset today is just different than it was when I was playing music, when I was getting stoned or drinking and stuff like that. So I think in a way it has helped me. Maybe I haven't utilized it to its like full capability yet, but I think it has helped me in a way.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, April, you know I'm one of your biggest fans, and I'm so damn proud
Well,
of
I
you.
couldn't be here without you. Like today, and so you were a huge part at the beginning of my story, and I think that's another thing that's incredible with the program is that you meet people, and like it's like we might not see each other every day and we don't talk every day, but it's like there's people that you're going to meet along in recovery that just are part of your story. The person who told me to go to Oxford is part of my story, just as much as you are part of my story for helping me get to see things that I was just so like incapable of admitting to myself.
Girl, that was all you.
So,
But
Jill is awesome, by the way, because Jill knows everybody. So I'm at work the other night, and there's a lady that's my supervisor, and we get to talking, and she goes, "Wait, you know Jill?" And I'm like, "Really?" And so we have to call Jill at work, and she's like, "Hey, girl." I'm going, "My boss knows Jill. That's good." So
I remember being in CADA and like she like came out and like I got to meet her for the first time, and I was like, okay, she's cool as shit. Like
Yeah.
if this is what recovery looks like I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Like
Feels like the
100%.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
People line up at recovery centers
I've
to see
told this
Jill.
before, but my mother lives in Little Rock. When we did our first few episodes, we're all excited. I send her a couple of episodes, and she goes, "Could you talk less and let Jill talk more?" I'm like, "You're my mom, dude. You're supposed to be my biggest fan."
Yeah.
She's like, "You're all right, but I'd like to hear more from Jill."
God.
Wouldn't we
Like,
all?
I've heard a couple people, and they'll be like, "We really want to hear more from Jill." I'm like, y'all, I'm the host. Y'all know that, right?
I think
My
it's
show.
no, Jill's awesome. So
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, appreciate you coming by. Wish you the
Yes,
best of
indeed.
luck with everything. So you got anything else, Matt?
not really. Hey, you guys that are listening, please subscribe, like, all that good stuff on our Spotify. It helps us out. It helps our stuff grow and
Get the message to more people.
Sure, absolutely. And
You
we
don't have to subscribe, but follow us.
follow us. There you go. Whatever it's called.
I don't have it set up
I don't
for
know, man. I'm not whatever. Follow. Same
Yeah,
thing.
we like followers.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to have We're egomaniacs that have to have followers.
That's right. Well, Jill, talking about egomaniacs, me and Mike have to be quiet so Jill can, No, everybody, I'm not calling
Yes.
Jill one. I'm saying, our ego's getting checked a little
Yeah,
bit.
She got enough of that last week.
Well,
We do have an email though. We would love to hear from you, and that's G and B Bossier, Bossier at gmail.com. That's GNB Bossier at gmail.com. And then the new phone number that we can be reached at is hang on, I'm gonna tell you, it's area code 817. Let's see. Area code 817-988-2530. So area code 817-988-2530. You leave us a voicemail, leave us a text message. If you want your voicemail not played, let us know in the voicemail. We won't play it. If not, we will play it. So far, we've gotten one that we played. And I really do appreciate all of our listeners out there. And, I think last time we ran through it so quick that I didn't get a chance to thank Roger and Debbie. I've heard from him a couple times, and Larry and Judy. I didn't get a chance to think about them either, and I didn't mention, but Larry's doing good. I still hear from both of them on a pretty regular basis, so glad to hear that. And then, of course, there's Kim and Rhonda and Kay and Michelle and Sheila. Faye, and who is Kay? I don't even know who Kay is. Brenda, Bree down in the New Orleans, Mandeville area, Lacombe, Louisiana, Amy C. These are all regular listeners. Somebody got an award. Who was that got an award for top 7% of our listeners or something?
Oh, yeah. My friend Brian
So
in Monroe.
Brian and Monroe, we do appreciate you listening to us. And we try to tell this on every single one, but the countries we can be heard in is, I'm going to pull it up right quick. The United States, United Arab Emirates, the UK, who else? Ireland. We got listeners in Ireland. We got listeners in Taiwan. Hello, Anne.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a few others that I'll mention from time to time, but I just can't pull it up right now. So appreciate all our listeners, though. Want to hear from you, want the emails. Oh, Jane. Got
Absolutely.
a
Hey,
shout
Jane.
out to Jane. And hopefully she's got Todd listening by now. But so I think that covers all the house cleaning deals. So from Rule 62 Studios in beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana, this is the Guys Who Play.